Let's talk about a really great article that you put out that I'm sure was met with a combination of love and disdain, because that's how life functions when you write about Apple. But I thought you wrote a great piece, and having the chance to talk to you about it through the process a little bit, you wrote a very balanced piece. We can be critical of Apple because I think we expect so much of the company, and Intel has certainly done a lot of wonderful things with its Evo and vPro platform to build some next generation notebooks, and they are competing head to head. You did the takedown, the breakdown. I'll let you lead this one, and I'll follow on with some comments.
No, it's thank you, Daniel. And this is really the second installment. I did my first set of reviews back in November on the first products that came out. With the initial version of Rosetta 2, I think there was one update, and kind of did the pros and cons in it. And what I wanted to do is do a comparison to the latest and greatest Intel Evo based notebooks. I want a disclosure here. Intel did send me the hardware to do some of this testing, so I need to put that out there. But what I did, Daniel, is I wanted to make it as fair as I possibly could, because I've got nothing. I have no beef with Apple. In fact, they brought some pretty incredible technology out there. And what I did is I first talked about, hey, what are some of the things that I wish these Evo laptops could do that it can't, that the new M1 based MacBooks can do. And I point out things like battery life on M1 optimized applications, its near fanless operation on the Pro, and its fanless operation on the Air. I really like the new keyboard, especially how they've perfected the backlighting that has no leakage, that quite frankly drives me crazy with premium Windows laptops. I also talk about, hey, the ability to run iOS apps. Now, there aren't a lot there, and I didn't find a lot that I found that were in my on my iPhone, but I did find two of them, and I think that'll get better. And finally, which I think really surprised people, and by the way, Daniel, over 100,000 people have read this article so far, so it's definitely touching a nerve out there. It is the amount of promotions that I get with Windows laptops, and you know what I'm talking about. Whether it's McAfee, Dropbox, ExpressVPN, for warranties, for market research, for pretty much everything. I just didn't get those on the M1 based MacBook. So now let's dive in. Obviously, more controversial to the Mac lovers out there, but things that I wish I could do with an M1 based MacBook that I can't. Things that I wish, I could do with the M1 based MacBooks that I just can't, but I can do with the Evo laptops. First thing is visual login. How do you log into these Evo notebooks? You look at them and it lets you in. It's not that Apple doesn't have the technology, because they do. They have Face ID, but they just have decided not to implement it. So it's super easy to log in with that. The other thing is the lack of ports. The MacBook has both new M1 based MacBooks have one open port. 2 USB-C, one is for power. So that's really difficult for the way that I work, and sure, you can go out and buy an external hub, but I'm thinking that on a $12.99 laptop, having to do that is suboptimal. Now, related to that is the inability to connect to more than one display. As I'm sitting here right now, I have 4 external displays natively. Now, you can rig through DisplayLink up to 6 displays to work, but you will not get the resolution, the frequency rate, and connect all the features. Like, you put your notebook down and it the displays turn off, you open it and they turn on, stuff like that. Other thing is peripheral compatibility. I can't use an external GPU. And the external GPU that I set up gave me a 3x gaming performance bump. And more importantly, turned games that I couldn't normally play, that might have been getting sub 30 frames per second into 60 and 120 frames per second. So it really was the difference between being able to play a game and not being able to play a game. And the last thing I'll touch on, and you can read my article if you want, is the volumetric difference. And I think the best way to show this is to go through and show you the difference between, this is a Dell XPS 13 sitting on top of the new M1 based MacBook Air. And as you can see, Apple really didn't work too hard on the form factor and making it smaller. The first point is these massive bands, black bands that are around the display. But it's primarily because Intel wanted to leverage the same chassis as they do with Intel, I believe, for operational efficiency and maybe some risk mitigation, not knowing exactly how the silicon was going to look when it came in. So hopefully it's provided some insights to the readers, and there will be more to come in the future. I already have one request to do a side-by-side with Surface. So they're like, why didn't you do a Surface comparison? Well, Surface isn't supporting Evo right now. It's as simple as that. So got a couple requests out there to do that, and I think I'm going to I'll do that.
Well, this podcast is, at least on my end, being run on a Surface right now. So
yeah,
I can truly say I use them all. I have a 27-inch iMac that sits on one desk. I have an HP, a Dell. Just like you, I've got a MacBook. I have not used the M1 yet, so I am a little bit jealous that you've had the chance to spend some time with it. What I can say is I continue to be impressed with the moves that Intel has made with Evo. It was a good quarter, by the way, for Intel's client business for the first time in several quarters, regaining a little bit of market share. That was according to the Mercury research data. And by the way, that's just a side note, nothing to really do with what you wrote about, Pat. But what I will say is his articles are really balanced. It's a dive. Some people are a little bit hypercritical about your articles because Apple fans are Apple fans, and in their eyes, they see no wrong. Wanting things like a port to connect additional devices to is not an unreasonable request. And by the way, I think the ARM architectures will continue to advance. And in fact, future of my team is we're actually deeply working on some research that's going to come out and look at what the future holds for architectural shifts, because Apple is building its own homegrown, but it's building on ARM the same way a lot of other OEMs are. So we're going to see more diversity in the market, and we're going to see a lot more. And Pat, thanks for the coverage. There was a great piece.